Good evening from Lombok, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Tonight, I thought I would make this video from my last night for now in Singigi, Lombok. It's a beautiful, beautiful location. I really love this spot, yet the time has come for a move. And today I thought that I'd let you know that this takes a little bit of courage and strength, and I'm going to call it feminine strength. Feminine power. Right now in the whole world, this sort of energy is starting to become recognized. And today I thought I'd share a word that is used in Sanskrit, which is known as Shakti. And I had made an entire video series, a playlist, about the powers of the soul, and I focused very much on Shakti and Shiva. And Shakti is very much a feminine related energy. Now, feminine energy, remember, as I often like to remind people, feminine and masculine energies are in each of us, and it all depends on where we force our attention, not force even, focus our attention. Where do we focus our attention? And if we can see that in the world right now, and for quite a number of years, maybe centuries, maybe historically, a lot of our history has focused on masculine energy, which is much more forceful, a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more action-oriented, very much strong in an overt way. And feminine energy, and powers and divinity, is a subtle energy, but extremely powerful. And so I thought I would help you remember this, to remember what you have within yourself, because as we focus on the masculine energy, and as we have pushed ourselves very much to be more, to get more, to achieve more, to show more. And this has taken away, I'll let that car pass. See, now that's a Shakti energy, is to be able to be peaceful and patient in the process of something loud around me. For you, wherever you are, you might look at how do you respond to loud energies around. How does it feel? Because feminine energy is sensitive energy, and not that feminine energy doesn't respond, yet it is a different way that feminine energy responds than masculine. Now, you might know many women that actually respond very aggressively to some experience. They might be very gentle at first and then respond very, not gently, when they are reacting to something. And so I thought I'd again remind you about this feminine strength that is within each of us. This quotation says, Shakti, the feminine principle, means power, the power to create the entire universe. Think of Mother Earth, Mother Creation. This is that womb of creation, is feminine energy. That power is simply love in action. That power is simply love in action. If you know anyone who puts love into action, they are practicing this Shakti power, this love in action. So you can imagine a mother taking care of a child and very engaged in whether it's feeding a child or just paying attention while the child is playing. This is love in action. There is that sincere care. And then the next part of this quotation says, anything that we think is power that isn't love isn't actually power. It's simply wounding or trauma in action. Wounding or trauma in action. When we think of this today, and what I'd like to draw our attention to is there is so much wounding and trauma in action that people remember, and then the earth remembers. So if you are seeing changes in our environment, this is the wounding that the earth feels as much as we do. Plants and animals feel it as much as we do. And then we have this conscious ability to pay attention to, where is my action coming from? When we see that you know that I focus on grief and sadness in my grief recovery work in Canada. And certainly, again, as I always remember, that I carry this with me everywhere, that this understanding of grief and compassion for it. Grief is a wounding. It's definitely a wounding experience. So someone is feeling grief. It's a loss of anything. Could be loss of confidence, could be loss of a family member, could be loss of a relationship, could be loss of a home. And you can see this is happening around the world with all this flooding that's happening. People are being displaced. But we've been carrying this wounding for a long time and then acting like it doesn't exist. Now today, when I look at people, and this is something that's happening in Canada, which I was very aware of, and I'm noticing happening here. I do know it's a worldwide phenomenon. This idea of grief and anxiety exists, and it's okay. We just medicate it and feel a little bit better. We go to appointments. We might send people to appointments that go talk about what's going on, about this loss or this grief. Yet, there's a limited amount of insurance that often people are working with, and if they're not working through insurance, there's a limited amount of finances from their savings that people work from. And then there's a limited amount of patience. And patience is part of Shakti power. A lot of people have lost patience. When we look at the increasing speed through technology, we don't have patience to watch a 5-minute video, though we might have patience to watch a 10-second TikTok video. And this is very important for us to understand that our minds are craving instant gratification. Instantly, I want to feel better, so it has to be finished in this much time. And that's been happening for some length of time too. So this Shakti power of patience, which often we don't give a lot of credit to. If we look at the earth and we understand that plants, of course, need the sunlight to grow, yet the nutrition that builds up in a plant happens at night in silence through underground forces that have been building and nurturing for so long. Then as the sun comes, this plant starts pulling up all of this nutrition that has been stored patiently to be used as a resource. And this is what our earth is doing right now too, that there's so much that's been not expressed, that there is this violent expression from the earth that is showing everything that's been cared for by Shakti, held on to, and eventually reaches a limit that it has to be released. And when people release this way, not so healthy, and that's what people have started to do. We see it in road rage, we see it in the speed of speaking with one another, the instant way that we want to get through a conversation or an experience or a trip. And we have lost this ability to just appreciate the now. And this also takes faith. So when I come back to spiritual connection with this, I recognize that often it's because people are working very individually, that this man thinks he's working alone for this family. This woman feels she's working alone because she might be working inside the house or outside the house, or both. Today, both partners are often doing both, each one feeling that they're doing just a little bit more than the other, or really happy that they're not doing more than the other. And this awareness builds our ego. And when we start appreciating what each is doing, which has been missing for quite some time, when we're consciously aware that appreciation is such a high blessing to receive and to give. We haven't done it for the earth, we haven't done it for each other, but we can start with each other. And any time and every time that we can do this, this is us working together, because we understand the nature of appreciation, gratitude, patience, love, and compassion all stem from these Shakti qualities. These Shakti qualities, we can remember they're all in us, but we cannot build them unless we practice them. If we practice them, strength also comes from an ability to express. So when we see the earth expressing, we have to be grateful that, wow, it held on to something for so long and now it's expressing something. And then we need faith to recognize that all is coming back together too. Something new is being created. We're in a process right now moving from 3D to 5D experience, which is very much from that go, go, go energy in 3D to that patient, accepting and also liberating, freeing energy that is coming in the 5D, which is based on love and compassion, not just for myself, but for all of us. We're moving into this. And so this quotation reminds me of this. It says, "It's when we start working together that the real healing takes place." It's when we start working together that the real healing takes place. I wanted to share in this video too that I've had some wonderful experiences just visiting schools. And I know that many people travel to see different sites, and maybe I did that a little bit in my early time in Indonesia. I've certainly done it in other trips. But I really like to visit people. I really like to see where learning and academics is growing, and where minds are growing, and where open minds are encouraged. And I have loved being part of some wonderful experiences at schools here. So for me, that's been a real treat. And I want to tell you, I had such a wonderful experience at a junior high school, which I was at some time ago. And I have to share that when I arrived that day to that school, I happened to arrive when the school, many students, I think they've got, I don't know whether they said they've got 1,000 students, maybe it was around 800 that day. I don't know what the number was that day, but the school itself has about 1,000 students. I walk in, there's this huge group in front of me, and they're all listening to a religious focused lecture that is the beginning of their day, and that was such a beautiful thing to arrive to. But I'm new and different, and I happened to arrive right at the front where the instructor was teaching. And I have to tell you, there was such an excitement from the students. And was it because, we got a break from teaching or learning something that we're seeing something different? Or because it was just so amusing because maybe the teacher didn't realize that I would be there at that time too. I didn't realize it wasn't planned for that time, but it was such a wonderful time to arrive. I want you to know that in that time when I finally had a chance to speak to the group, it was actually that teacher that encouraged me, because the students were definitely paying a little bit more attention to me than maybe to the information he was sharing. And he welcomed me with such a wonderful energy, clearly from the heart of, okay, come, because clearly the attention was already distracted. And he was so warm in his welcome. So I came to the front to ask a few questions or just say hello to this group that I was just visiting. And it was so neat. The students were so eager, can we ask some questions? And in Indonesia, because there's a lot of focus on learning English, many have been taught about ask these questions when you meet someone to practice your English. And I've heard it now many times, so I know that there's kind of this memorized list of these are the types of questions. What's your name? Where are you from? How long are you here? What are you doing here? And so this one student, the what are you doing here is not a very common question. What do you do might be. How do you like Lombok is a very common question, or Indonesia. But I will say that the students would ask me these questions, and I was at that time just learning the style that was being taught and how students were learning here. And it was so interesting. There was one little boy that asked a question of, what are you doing here? And what I'm doing here is I'm here on a calling. Now, how do I teach a junior high school that is not so clear with English understanding what a calling is, and how will I explain that? So I was in that moment before I made a brief description of, it's a calling. I do a lot of meditation. I get a little bit of guidance from the universe or God or source or whatever you want to call that energy, and that's why I'm here. And in 1 minute he put it together, which many adults that I speak to about this, and even friends, asked me to explain more. I don't get it. I don't understand. And this little boy said, so you listen to God? And it was right. And it was such, even now when I think about it, I find it so touching that he got it. He got it. This is a calling. This is such a beautiful experience, and to see at that age that when the information or the ability to work together with a different energy that can come into a school and put into its energy just a different awareness, students are ready to hear it and understand and then utilize it for themselves, because we can learn and memorize lots of different scriptures, and yet when we're putting it into action, when we see this is how it can be put into action today, here and now. I saw this boy putting it into action, and let me tell you, when I said yes, there was a hoot and holler about that too, and I feel it inside, but boy, they reflected it. So I want to thank that school. Again, that was a junior high school that I went to here. And then I want to make sure that you know that the school that I visited most here was a high school. And there I have to thank that there is a group of wonderful teachers that have just allowed me to be present. I just share my presence with the school. That's what this mind, this soul has wanted to do. So to be present and just to interact through connection for no particular purpose or reason except for the purpose of connection. And it's been so wonderful. I know that in all schools all around the world, so much is guided by the top level. So this would be the principal at the school that I would say that I see every time that I visit his office first. And I have to tell you, I know that it's his intention of something different has arrived at our school, and we're welcoming it. That has allowed me to meet other teachers and meet students, and allowed this experience of connection that, again, even though we might talk about it in our schools, that this is one of our goals, that we want to connect with people. There's so many ways to connect, and this school, I thank you so much for those experiences this time. So thank you. I hope to be back. The universe or God will decide whether I am. And I wanted to finish with this quotation, sharing this because this is what we all are. Doesn't matter our age, doesn't matter whether we're male or female, doesn't matter which country we're in, doesn't matter which religion we are. These are the words. I am Shakti as well as Shiva. I am everything male and female, light and dark, flesh and spirit, perfectly balanced in one single moment, lasting an eternity. I'm going to read that again. It says, I am Shakti as well as Shiva. I am everything male and female, light and dark, flesh and spirit, perfectly balanced in one single moment, lasting an eternity. So these moments I have shared with you feel like they will be with me for eternity. Thank you for your assistance in that part of my calling here. I hope that we are all working together in this journey of connection, not only within Lombok, but with the world, that I hope we all will be connecting for the same divine purposes. I wish you a fabulous day or night ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life, everyone. Good night from Lombok.